Hello, everyone. This is Dave Schlossberg with the Short Concepts Group with an updated news report that was just passed last Tuesday by the IRS. The IRS has passed Rule Notice 2024-35 and provided additional confusion on required minimum distributions for beneficiary IRAs, and I'm here to explain that for you today. In December of 2019, a Secure Act, now known as Secure Act 1.0, was passed. And when that bill was passed, it changed the rules for distributions of retirement accounts for the beneficiaries of retirement accounts. And the rules effectively said that those retirement accounts needed to be emptied at the end of a 10-year period following the date of death of the IRA owner. So 10 years after the IRA owner dies, the beneficiary has to empty the IRA, no longer allowing it a status as a qualified retirement account. And so that was the rule as passed by legislation. Then there was some confusion about whether or not required minimum distributions needed to be taken during that time period. And effectively, there was a several set of rules that were created depending on whether or not you were an eligible designated beneficiary or a non-eligible designated beneficiary. And so in order to define those, you'll find a PDF attachment here to this podcast. But generally speaking, a eligible designated beneficiary for the most part is going to be the spouse of the deceased person, or a minor child of the deceased person under the age of 21, note not grandchildren, but minor child of the deceased person under the age of 21, or a chronically disabled individual. For the most part, that's the rules. But again, there's a PDF attachment for you to gain more clarity on what is a non-eligible designated beneficiary compared to an eligible designated beneficiary. So the rules effectively said for an eligible designated beneficiary, if it was a spouse, you can assume the IRAs as if it was your own, or you can elect to do the old stretch provisions that were in place before the Secure Act was passed in December of 2019. If you're a non-eligible designated beneficiary, the rule basically said, the legislation, the way it was passed, said you had to empty the IRA account at the end of 10 years. December 31st, 10 years after the date that the person died. So that was relatively clear. And then there was a change to that. And in February of 2022, some 14 months later, the IRS stated if the IRA owner dies on or after the required beginning date, the 10-year rule applies, and the beneficiary must also take RMDs in years 1 through 9. These RMDs will be calculated based on the beneficiary single life expectancy, or a specialized table for beneficiaries, not the table based on the decedent's age. So they effectively said that the rules are changed. If the IRA owner already had to take their RMDs, then as a non-eligible designated beneficiary, you also needed to take RMDs for years 1 through 9, and then empty the remainder of the account in the 10th year. Since that rule didn't come out until 14 months after the bill was passed, and it would have affected 2020, 2021, the IRS also then decided to come out with a rule that effectively eliminated the need to take those required distributions in 2021 and 2022, rather. And the rule was effective January 1st, 2021. So they changed the rule in February of 22, but then waived that rule for calendar years 21 and calendar year 2022. In 2023, not before the year began, but after the year began, I believe sometime around February, they came out and changed that rule then again for 2023 and waived the required minimum distribution for these non-eligible designated beneficiaries in calendar year 2023. Well, now this new notice, again, not before the year started, but after the year has started, this new notice, notice 2024-35, which was passed on April 16th, now says that that relief from the annual RMD requirements extends into 2024 as well. So now it's saying that you don't need to take your 2024 RMD as a non-eligible designated beneficiary, and you won't have a penalty for failing to do so. So this rule just keeps extending, and it extends after the year begins. We don't yet have clarity on whether or not folks that have already taken the 2024 RMD can put it back in and eliminate the penalty. And I'm not sure that that's in the best interest of everybody to begin with. Regular studies have shown that if you allow the IRA to grow for a 10-year period and then take the entirety out at the end of 10 years, you might very well have a tax bill that you're not very comfortable paying. And so it might make sense, even though it's not required to take a 2024 RMD, to retain a distribution that you already might have taken, and or to, despite the rule change, still consider taking the RMD for calendar year 2024 in order to mitigate some of the tax burden that's going to come at the end of the 10-year period. So that's the highlight. That's the news that was just passed this week. I wanted to get it out to you as soon as possible. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to comment or feel free to email. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have about this rule change. And thank you very much for listening. You have a great day. Bye-bye.